All right, we're back here. This is Zero Racing Season 3, Round 1. The weekend series starts now. This was done last weekend at the time of uploading this video. With me on co-commentary is Thomas Wajs, the man who is tied for first in the history of reverse race polls in Zero Racing history. He is also fourth on the all-time start list. He has one podium to his name. Tom, say hello to the people.
Oh, why hello, Internet.
Tom is absent from this race, but normally is the driver of the number 5 2015 Audi. That is actually the lone 2015 Audi on the grid. So
I like to be different. What can I say?
likes to be different. Hasn't hampered him, actually. He's not been the worst Audi in either of the two races he has done. In fact, you did score points for Audi in your first race of the season. So
This is true.
that is always good. So we're going to start off here with a little grid walk. Take us down the grid, see who everyone is, and we'll roll on from there. Starting on pole in the number 17 Audi, it's Carl Raggio, locking out the front row for both Audi and America. Debuting number 53 Audi, Ben Schwarmy. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. On row 2, it's another Audi, making it a really good Audi day. The number 48 of Alessio De Bonis on the inside with the number 3 Mercedes of Martin Lauer, the top non-Audi in the field. Row 3 is Matt Wheeler in the top 2015 spec car. He's in the number 6 Mercedes from that year. And the number 16 BMW of Mark Minahan. Row number 4, it's all BMW, all day. The number 31 of Wes Stokes and the number 7 of James Gill. Rick Martel in number 84 Mercedes is the back marking Mercedes for this race. He is joined by the number 11 BMW of Mark Clapzul on row 5. Row 6, we find myself on the inside, the number 99 Audi of Michael Magasevic with the number 18 of Dule Markovic in the BMW. This is a big moment because Dule was actually a member of the grid for the second half of last season, but technical difficulties prevented him from ever connecting to the server in a stable enough manner to race. So to see him on the grid, it was truly a big moment, and just created a more international feel to the whole deal. He is from Serbia. On the back row, it's the number 27 of Dave Collins. That's an Audi. So Audi on pole, Audi on the back of the grid. Bit of a rough time for Dave, but the rest of the Audis, a pretty solid run, although myself outside of the top 10 is a little bit of a problem. Tom, you have any thoughts on the grid? Any surprises?
No, this looks like our average grid.
All right. This is also the largest grid in our history that wasn't an open server that we had to do at Indianapolis due to problems with the password. Let's get this underway. Tom is on slight delay due to the fact that we're having to Steam broadcast this to him, so his comments may be slightly late. And we're off on the grid. Jim Gill gets off to a pretty bad start there, and Ben Schwarmy off to a pretty good start, but he's going to be left on the outside as Carl Raggio goes through. I believe that's Martin Lauer in third as Dule Markovic and James Gill go way wide at turn 1. In P3, it's Martin Lauer, followed by De Bonis, Wheeler. Wesley Stokes had a good start up into 6th place ahead of Mark Minahan. I am up from 11th on the grid to 8th place. 9th is Rick Martel. 10th is Dave Collins coming up from the back of the grid. And Markovic, Gill, and Clapzul appear to have had compromised first corners. Back at the front, we still have Carl Raggio leading the way from his new Audi teammate Ben Schwarmy and the Mercedes of Martin Lauer. We're in the twisty uphill section, then into the downhill section of Bathurst, one of the more challenging tracks that honestly you can visit in the sim racing world. Alessio De Bonis still in 4th place, followed by Matt Wheeler, and then the top BMWs of Wes Stokes and Mark Minahan. 8th place still belongs to Magasevic, followed by Rick Martel, and the final point spot belongs to Dave Collins. Raggio starting to make a little bit of a clean break, which is pretty important on this DRS-dependent track because, man, leading after the first lap, it can be painful if you haven't broken that DRS trail back to the chasing group. Speaking of DRS, how much of a difference do you think DRS is going to make to you, Mr. Wajs, since you didn't know what button was mapped to the DRS during our first race?
Well, I can see if it was on a straightaway and my car was set up a little differently, it definitely would have helped me make a final push there to try and gain a position last race. But from when I hit it in the hills, it kind of sent me flying right into a wall.
Well, the hills are not really a DRS zone on this track. DeBonis, by the way, is taking third place somewhere along the line from Martin Lauer. So we're going to just rewind real quick to see if we can catch what happened there. Looks like Martin may have made a mistake because he's quite a ways back and in the clutches of Matt Wheeler. I think I see this. I see some flying pylons. So let's roll this again. So heading into the first corner, Martin just gets a little wide. It's actually not him hitting the pylons. So not sure what happened there. Alessio claims third spot, and it's a 1-2-3 for Audi. Matt Wheeler is going to move up into fourth place, at least temporarily here, with Martin Lauer and Wes Stokes battling over fifth place. Mark Minahan back in seventh place. Eighth still belongs to myself, followed by Rick Martel. Mark Klapzul is now up into the final points-paying position of 10th place, ahead of Dule Markovic and James Gill. Dave Collins has come to a stop at the side of the track. I do believe that was a case of AFK. Back to the front, we still have Carl Raggio leading the way down the downhill section here on lap 2. He is followed by Ben Schwarmy and Alessio DeBonis still. Martin Lauer has and Wes Stokes have both claimed a spot over Matt Wheeler, so let's possibly a rare mistake from the Australian two-time zero racing champion, Mathew Wheeler. Take a quick rewind here and see what might have happened to the number 6 Mercedes. Oh, yeah. So Matt's coming through in fourth place. Looks like he just kind of loses the back end a little bit, ends up in the wall. And Martin Lauer and Wes Stokes say, thank you very much, we're going through. Nothing else really changing through the rest of the grid by the looks of it.
No, it looked like he managed to recover fairly quickly there.
Fairly quickly. That is kind of the advantage of the enclosed confines of Bathurst to a certain degree. We complain about it a lot because, of course, it leads to a lot of wall contact. But if you do it in the right spot and you contact side on the walls, they do tend to point you back in the right direction. Paul Raggio just kind of really getting the better of it on the straight. Just a little insider information because I worked with Ben and Carl on the Audi setup for this race. Carl was running a little bit less wing than Ben in the straights, which I think definitely probably helped him. I'm a little amazed that I'm still holding 8th place, to be honest. This is a downright impressive performance by my standards.
It was one of your better days. What can you say?
We'll see about that. Not to give it away, but the skill will not hold. Dule Markovic having a little bit of an off there at the end of lap 2. James Gill now right up behind him in the number 7 BMW Bank machine. Speaking of which, things that I learned from DTM, that there's such a thing as a BMW Bank.
Interesting.
If you watched the first 2017 DTM race there, by the way.
No, I did not. My race watching has been lacking greatly recently.
I would highly recommend it. There was a lot of good passing, a lot of interesting stuff. I'm very excited for DTM this season. Not overly keen on how they have the DRS set up. They kind of went back to the old school thought of DRS, which I don't know. I like the just X number of activations per race. That was probably how I would do it if I was in charge of a racing series.
It was a tad bit more strategic.
I would say it's more strategic now, but now it's kind of a lot more luck. Like there's a lot of there were a lot of guys who like never had the opportunity to make use of DRS in the race like at all. Anyways, back at the front, the top 3 are still the same. Actually, the top 6, 7 are the same. Top 8, actually, I'm still holding on against Rick Martel, my fellow Canadian. At some point, Jim Gill has gotten past Dule Markovic, who is trying out his BMW brand lawnmower by the looks of it. So that's probably the answer as to how that happened. Dule having a bit of a struggle to recover the car at this point. But he will rejoin in 12th position. Not much action at the front. They're kind of spread out. Oh, we do have some stuff from fourth, though. Martin Lauer, Wes Stokes, Matt Wheeler, Mark Minahan, all running very close together. This is Mercedes, BMW, Mercedes, BMW. Martin Lauer making his zero racing debut. He missed the weekday round due to, I believe, a business trip. So welcome him aboard. Got the veteran of all veterans, Matt Wheeler, as one of the men pressuring him. Although Wes Stokes, I think, has to worry more about Mr. Wheeler right now. Interesting note, Matt is running the lowest wing of any car in the grid. So look for him to try to make some moves on the straightaways, and here he comes! And that didn't go well for him as he hits the wall. That's going to cost him a spot as Mark Minahan takes 6th place from Matt Wheeler.
Oh yeah, I just saw that on my end. That was not the prettiest thing in the world.
It was not the general grace that we have come to expect from our multi-time champion. Still leading the way. We have the 1, 2, 3 Audis, and these guys are battling for really the best of the non-Audis right now. And Matt has another moment, getting on the power a little bit too early out of turn 1. Also should be noted that this is a pretty unimpressive performance from the hometown core of Australians that we have on the grid. None of the 3 running in the top 5.
I think they're big fans of the GT3 cars still.
I think the DTMs were pretty popular amongst the Australians outside of Matt. Matt wasn't big on the GT3s though either. He's a front wheel drive man. If he had his way, we'd be doing World Touring cars.
Oh, anything but that.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, would you really want to race a whole series of NSU Nitzes?
No, I really wouldn't.
Or how about... I really can't think of anything worse than that.
We could do like the Diesel Beetle Cup, if that was a thing.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, we'd never go over 100. We could make every turn no problem. There wouldn't be any accidents.
There'd be no fun. Somewhere along the line, Rick Martel is taking me for 8th place. That might have happened too long ago for me to hunt it out. I'm now holding off Mark Clapzool in a battle for 9th. And I believe that is Jim Gill coming up in behind us. Also, just gonna have a pause here for a moment because there's something that probably needs to be seen to fully grasp the import of here. Meet Mark Minahan's car. I'll just let that catch up for Tom.
Oh, that's neat.
This is at the point where, unfortunately, Mark's car disconnected from the race, which was a major blow for the BMW team, which has been struggling so far this season. Mark was the number 2 BMW in this race out of the 4 or 5 BMWs. And this unfortunately meant that he was going to miss both the remainder of this race and race 2 and leave Bathurst without a single point, which I'm sure was pretty galling. So we'll go through the running order here with Mark out of the race. It's still Carl Raggio leading the way from Ben Schwari and Alessio DeBonis. Pretty stable gaps all around for the 3 Audis out front. Martin Lauer is still holding 4th place against Wes Stokes. 6th place is now Matt Wheeler. In 7th place, we have Rick Martel. 8th place is myself, followed by Mark Clapzul in 9th. And Jim Gill up into the points in the number 7 BMW from BMW Bank.
See, I've heard of lowering your car, but that was just a little excessive.
It was a little excessive. Perhaps some additional ride height would have been useful in that particular circumstance. For those not familiar with DTM, it's pretty much the most advanced touring car series in the world. Technically, it's classified as touring cars, although they hold very little in common with most touring cars. It's a 3-make series with Audi, BMW, and Mercedes. It's also involved Opel, and at various points, Ford has been involved, as well as Alfa Romeo.
Now, what car did Ford use when they were involved?
The Mustang.
Interesting.
Back in the 90s.
So that would have been the Fox Body Mustang?
I believe so. You can actually look it up on the Race Room website. They have the 1992 DTM series. It has the Ford Mustang in it, as well as the Opel. I don't know if it was the Astra. I know their final car was the Astra, but it may not have been in '92.
Yeah, no, it was a Fox Body Mustang that was used.
Wes Stokes is under a lot of pressure here for 5th place from Matt Wheeler. Wheeler is coming back solid. A couple of mistakes this race for Matt. Definitely not one of his prouder performances, but he's showing you that he definitely has the speed to compete, even in the slightly outdated spec Mercedes.
And as for Opel, it was the Opel Omega.
It was the Opel Omega. Just as an interesting note, there are 2 Canadian drivers on the DTM field, and both of their cars are being driven by Australians. Matt gets up on the inside of Wes. There's a little bit of contact. Wes is going to lose it, but Matt's going to lose it. So this is a net advantage for Wes. I do believe Wes received a driving standards warning for that incident from our race marshal, Jack Mendenrath Hundvik. He didn't view it as a penalty, but he did think that Wes, under just good sportsmanship, should have ceded the corner to Matt there. Those of you viewing, you can have a look at it for yourself. I've lost 8th place to Clap, so, I mean, ritual suicide inevitably is in the future.
Well, how did you make that happen?
We're going to have a look. Mind you, I do have to make a point. This whole race, I was racing with the assumption that I had a penalty, and I did have a penalty. At the beginning of the race, I rear-ended Clap, and we know that traditionally that's a penalty in zero racing. All right, so I think this may just be a classic DRS pass. Yep, Clap gets on the DRS. He's close enough to get the activation, and there's just not really anything I can do, short of being like borderline unsportsmanlike to try to defend the position.
Yeah, I saw that wing turn down. It was definitely a DRS pass.
So I slipped down to 9th ahead of James Gill. He's in 10th. Like I said, interestingly enough, the 2 Canadian cars in DTM are being driven by Australians in our series, despite the fact that about half the grid is Canadian. So none of us picking the hometown cars.
Clearly, we don't like our Canadian drivers. That's all we have to say.
I'd like to pay more attention to the battle for the lead, but there's not really a battle. I don't think Ben can really make any real headway into Carl's lead at this point. Martin Lauer is now pretty much on his own, with Wes Stokes having that incident with Matt Wheeler. So the top 7 is pretty calm right now. So we go back to 8th place, where Mark Clapzool is still in 8th, but he's having some problems on the downhill section. And both myself and Jim Gill are getting to the point where we are all over the Red Bull BMW. We're heading into the kink. I apologize for not knowing the names of the Bathurst turns. I've never been good at that, even with tracks that I've raced in real life. I just kind of remember them by turn number.
That's fine. We can just give them funny names like the Top Gear track.
That could work. Dave Collins currently. Oh, we have an accident in the background. It looks like myself and Jim Gill have had a moment. Let's take a quick look at what happened there. So anyways, I'm also, again, just to finish out the point, I'm assuming that I was under a penalty, so if there was a car near me, I expected that they would actually finish ahead of me. So my defense was a little bit more friendly than it traditionally is. My back end is stepping out, and Jim just gives me a clip on the back. That's not his fault. That's entirely on me. I was losing the back end of the car heading into the final corner. I had been on the DRS trying to make a move on Clap and misjudged my braking point. As the braking point, of course, is considerably different when you're on DRS.
Yeah, those turns really sneak up on you.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, back at the front, things are really pretty much standard quo here on the last lap. I don't think there's really going to be any action to speak of. I mean, the 2 closest cars together are myself and Jim. I'm sitting on a penalty at this point, so there's not really much of a point on pushing. I would have to get at least 5 seconds clear of Jim to actually make it a position. And Dule Markovic in 11th place is considerably far behind, but you know what? He's had a pretty solid race for a guy who's battling with relatively high paying and technical difficulties that up until this race had prevented him from even getting on the grid. Dave Collins has had another moment. He is down several laps due to his AFK moment earlier on, having some difficulty turning around.
But yeah, if you get stuck in there, you're stuck in there for a little bit.
So our finishing order is an all Audi podium is Car Raggio leads home Ben Schwarmy and Alessio DeBonis. Top Mercedes is Martin Lauer. Wes Stokes, the top BMW in 5th place ahead of Mathew Wheeler, followed by Rick Martel, Mark Clapzool, Jim Gill, and myself, Michael Magasevic. I will be on race 2 pole for the first time ever. I still need 3 more to catch you there, Tom.
Don't worry, I'm sure I'll get a few on you there within the next few races.
Anyways, we're just waiting Dule Markovic to come across the finish line to finish his debut race. It's not going to look impressive. 11th place is not great for the BMW driver, but like I said, just being on the grid was a momentous occasion for Dule, and we hope to see him grow and continue his development as a driver within our ranks. So, Tom, do you have any final thoughts on the race?
From the looks of it, it was one of the cleaner races.
Was some accidents. I will reveal that, like I said, there was one penalty. It was mine. It was a 5-second penalty for rear-ending clap at the start. Wes picked up a driver's standards warning, but no time penalty. For his,
I didn't see Team BMW take one another out though, so that was a good start.
It was a good start for them. You know what? It would have been a better race for BMW had Mark not DC'd. I believe he was the fastest BMW on the track. He was behind Wes in the positional order, but it did feel like he was faster than Wes. And, not that he could have put up much of a fight in terms of a podium, but I mean, he was on offer, I think, for possibly a 4th place finish, because it did feel like Martin was just barely holding on to 4th place against both the BMW drivers, Stokes and Minahan, as well as Matt Wheeler's Mercedes. So
he did have
a
decent pace, which was good.
All right, so we'll be back with race number 2 after this, and it'll be the 2 of us again, and then it's off to the fun races of Wednesday, where we're, by the way, if anyone hasn't paid attention, we're racing silhouettes at Stowe. That means it's a free car on a free track. So anyone who is watching this video, come check us out. It'll be Wednesday, May the 10th. Yes, Wednesday, May the 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just a little under 24 hours from when we're recording this video. And we're going to be enjoying Stowe, which is a really short circuit, quite easy, but still challenging at the same time. It's easy to learn, tough to master, and we're bringing silhouettes to the table. So, I mean, I'm assuming I'll see you in a Red Bull silhouette there.
Oh, of course. I can't be in anything else.
Then there's a Red Bull option. Tom's going to take the Red Bull option. So we'll see you for race 2, and I hope everyone enjoyed.